broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing aftershows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows, interviewing celebrities and showrunners, and bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Hey guys, we are here. Thank you for tuning in to AFTERBUZZ TV's Spotlight On. I am so excited that this lovely woman is joining me today. We've got NFL's HQ's Erin Coscarelli. Did I say it right?
Yeah, you did.
I know. In the beginning, I was like, I felt like it was an Italian last name. I thought you were a New Yorker, but you're not. You're from here, LA.
Born and raised Pasadena, of all places. But I'm half Irish. Half Italian, so that's really a dangerous combo right there.
It
but
kind
no, you
of
got
is.
the last name good. You're good.
Maybe that's why you asked me to put whiskey in your drink. Just kidding.
It was vodka, actually. It was vodka. I did ask, but no.
No.
Unfortunately.
So yes, you're born and raised in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about growing up, because as a woman in the sports arena,
sure,
you've got to have sports in your blood.
Yeah.
You've got to have that passion. Like, how did it happen for you?
I love that question because you're right. You know, I grew up in LA, so I didn't grow up with a professional team like, you know, your love for the Jets.
I know. We've already got there, guys. Sorry. We talked about it off air. I'm a huge Jets fan. Some of you might know that.
But you have a lot to be proud of right now. We'll get to that.
Finally.
I know.
I
want to talk about that.
I would love to talk about it.
I'm curious to hear what the Jets fans, what the consensus is, finally, you know, getting a 2-0 start. But, so yeah, I grew up in LA, grew up in Pasadena.
There's few of you. There's not many people
Yeah, I know. I meet a ton of people. No one's from Los Angeles, much less Pasadena. But, you know, it's a great place to grow up. You have the weather, you got the mountains, you got the desert. You know, it's great. The one thing you didn't have, at least when I was growing up, the Rams and the Raiders, you know, they were gone. So I grew up like a huge college football fan. I went to USC. I covered the team. I think just having older brothers kind of helps. I was a total tomboy growing up. I mean, like, I have a mean spiral game. Like, I can throw down when it comes to any sport: basketball, softball, basketball, soccer, you name it. I just love being competitive. And that was growing up with two older brothers. So I think that was kind of how I got my love for the world of sports and competition. And I figured I'm 5'3", probably not going to play professionally, or my dream, no joke, Stef, was to be in the WNBA. Like,
yes!
I'm not even joking. I literally was
like, oh, come on, you probably got the ups, you can dunk.
I do. I have hops. Just everything else probably don't have when it comes
you
to
don't
my
have the shot.
Ball game.
Come on, you can do a good layup.
I can't. My 3-point shot.
We're gonna go play. We'll go play horse. We'll go play a game of horse after this.
You'll probably beat me, but I used to ball.
Possible.
I used to be able to ball. Anyway, so yeah, I grew up just with older brothers, and I went to SC. I covered the football team.
Yeah. How did that happen? Like, how did you get to the point where you were like, this love? Because that's, you know, your first step almost in this journey of broadcasting.
Yeah.
So what was it that was like, I want to cover this. I want to talk about this. I want to research this. What made that fire ignite?
I think when it comes to sports, it's like the reality world of real entertainment, because when it comes to sports, and obviously growing up as an athlete, you're faced with such high pressure situations. Do you face adversity head on, and like, do you choke, you know? And I think when it comes to sports, you oftentimes you meet these athletes that are so super talented, and they're put in these high pressure situations, and you see them perform at the highest level. I mean, obviously the NFL, the pros, the professional level, you just see these athletes at such an elite level succeed. I think that that's fascinating to me. And there's so many great stories. You know, today on the show we had Thomas Davis, who was the NFL's Man of the Year.
Yeah.
And he does a lot of stuff with his community in the world of philanthropy, and he has such a fantastic story, and he overcame a lot of struggles. So I think that that's probably what intrigues me the most. Obviously, sports, I loved it. I played. I was an athlete growing up. But just like those underlying hidden stories, those gems of how people get to where they're at. I love talking to people and connecting. So I'm just curious about everybody. I'm like, I could ask you a million questions about your life, but then having, Kobe Bryant and finding out why he is so successful, because the talent level is there, but there's something else that he has, that tenacity that he never gives up. That's interesting to me.
No, it's super interesting because I feel like when you're an athlete, it does require it's a different type of person.
Right.
The mentality, the determination, the dedication, and that's attractive. And I don't mean like in a sexy versus non-sexy way, but almost
sexy.
It is sexy. Yeah, all right, well, we're on the same page. But to have, not everybody can do it. It's the top of the top.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because, with these great successes comes great responsibility. So when you see these stories and you learn this stuff, it makes it more tangible for everybody.
Absolutely, it's so relatable, right? Because you're like, dang, Tom Brady, for instance. I think he was a 5th round pick. I know, I'm sorry, he was a 6th round pick.
199.
And a lot of people kind of overlooked him. Same thing with Russell Wilson. He was too short. I mean, if you see Tom Brady's combine tape, you're like, that guy's definitely not cut out for the pros. And then look at what he's overcome. And talk about distractions. Whether they cheated or they didn't cheat, let's see, the average person overcome that type of pressure and succeed.
Well, yes, and just to touch on that too, it's funny because I feel like a lot of people aren't exactly clear on what Tom Brady did. And this is me talking as a Jets fan, so this is the real deal. Not only was he in the pressure cooker and being called a cheater, and maybe like when he was asked the direct question of "Are you a cheater?" answered it maybe not the most politically correct way for himself. But he was like, okay, let me step back, figure out how to go around this and prove that the NFL has no rhyme or reason for their rulings. You know what I mean? Like, because he didn't disprove maybe his guilt, but he just went around it and found a different angle. And it is, I feel like a lot of the elites in that pressure cooker moment, they win.
Yeah.
And that's really what it comes down to. Like, when you get to that point in time, do you sink or swim? And Tom Brady swam.
There you go.
Unfortunately for my team.
She's a Jets fan.
It's okay. We're 2-0 too. We're tied with them right now.
I know. That's great. Real quick, I didn't get to see the documentary. I was briefly actually about Jeremy Lin, and he was an Ivy Leaguer growing up. He went to like an elite high school that was kind of known more for the academics, and obviously he went to Harvard. And a lot of people said, sure, you're the best on this team, you're the best at this level, but you're not your competition's not that great. And just to see, he had also made the statement in the documentary. He said, now, if I was black, would you have thought I was not as good, Right. But they judged me on the color of my skin. And I just think, what a great story right there. He, again, overcoming those obstacles. Do you sink or swim? Jeremy Lin, clearly,
And I feel like, too, that what football does is and all sports really across the board, creates a platform for conversation, because there are these stories. There are all these people come from completely different backgrounds. And at the end of the day, a football player is a football player. A fan is a fan. Even though we might be fans of opposing teams and on game day hate each other, it's that same love, passion of why we're there. And I do believe that sports is the most universal language. So absolutely. It is amazing that there are more and more of these stories coming out, because the viewership and the audience to take this in is huge. And that's too why sometimes when these guys do stuff that, isn't awesome, there's a lot of scrutiny as well.
And you know what? And to flip the script on that, right? I was just thinking this. Ray Rice, obviously what happened with him, a terrible situation. But how much awareness did that bring about for women's domestic violence, So you're right. Like, sports is a platform to discuss things that aren't just sports related. It's, what the world's problems are,
Right, because these people, at the end of the day, they're people. Their job is to put on a uniform and go out and win. But at the end of the day, these people, and it is, I mean, there is a flip side of this that I feel like, because of how social media and everything is these days, a lot of the stuff that was maybe protected in the shield of the NFL years and years ago is now coming out because everybody's a reporter. But I do believe at the end of the day, what sports do as a whole creates life lessons. I mean, like, you look at all the great sports movies, and it's like the amount of the actual sports in the movie is not.
It's very little.
It's little.
Yeah.
It's the story, because all these stories and what these athletes do, and it's kind of really amazing.
Favorite sports movie?
Remember the Titans.
Oh, love that one. I was going to say that too. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there's
Invincible's pretty good too.
There's so many good, like you said, so many good stories, so many good movies, and there's going to be a ton too. You know, I'm a huge fan of documentaries too. Like I love HBO Real Sports. I wish that could be Monday through Friday. But, you know, just the stories being told, like you said, through sports.
So I've got a couple questions for you.
Fire away.
Now that I know you a little bit more, I know where you're coming from. And especially what we're talking about, how much these athletes and sports really do. I'm just going to say it. I believe it shapes people.
Yeah, sure.
I feel like nowadays, I'm curious, do you think every kid should get a participation trophy?
No, absolutely not.
I'm so with you.
Yeah, no way. I think it was James Harrison with the Steelers. He was like, I'm taking that away. Sorry, kids. I love you. You're great. But we're not teaching kids how to fight through adversity, right?
Exactly.
I mean, like, how many times are you going to, in reality, not in a participation AYSO sport, and I'm not talking AYSO, I'm just generalizing.
Yes, every organization is similar. That's just the one that's here.
Right, exactly. Yeah. In reality, your boss is going to say, hey, listen, you sucked today, right? And for lack of better words, you're going to have to here you're not number one. So how are you going to face that, right? How are you going to get through that? How are you going to be a better person hearing that the next day and getting a participation grade, in my opinion, and this can vary from person to person, I don't think is a good way to create that, you know, to hope that the kid will be raised to have a little bit of a shield, a little bit.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with you. I actually, you know, I'm very passionate about this in kids in sports, and I know you do a lot of charity work with kids as well.
Yeah.
I feel like we're actually setting these kids up for failure, because they are not going to know what to do, exactly like you're saying, when something falls apart. Mm-hmm. They're not going to know how to bounce back. They're not going to know how to depend on their teammates. They're not going to know how to give someone that's better than them you go do it and I'll do this.
Yeah, half of why I put my shin guards on, I woke up early every Saturday morning and played, you know, Timbuktu, was because I wanted to win. I didn't want, a consolation prize. I wanted that darn gold-plated fake trophy. Right. That meant the world to me. So that, you know, I feel like I turned out pretty okay. I take criticism
so far, so good. No, just kidding.
So far, so good, depending on who you ask.
Yeah.
But no, I'm with you, Steph, on that for sure.
Okay. How do you feel about fantasy football?
I don't know your take on it. I'm obsessed.
Oh, okay,
I am obsessed.
Here we go.
I don't know. There's something about the obsession of how, you know, for instance, I have Drew Brees on my, you know, he's my starting QB. Phillip Rivers is my backup. Drew Brees is now potentially out. How does that affect the rest of my team? The matchup, I forget who Phillip Rivers is playing this week. But then it's just, there's an obsession there. And I agree, it takes away potentially a little bit from the actual enjoyment of the game. I mean, I talk to a lot of people who agree with your sentiments, that they think fantasy football is actually hurting the world.
I understand as a business person how it's selling more jersey, it's educating more people. Like, I understand the pros of it. For me, it's just, I don't know, I can't get over it.
Have you played fantasy football?
I have not.
Oh.
I refuse to, and this is why.
Okay.
Because I don't want to sit down and look at 4 games and be like, I want that guy, that guy, that guy, and that guy to do good. I want to root for a team, and when we have a crappy play, I want to be like, oh, and when we score, I want to be like, yes. I don't want to be like, that was 2.2 points, and let me see what this guy over here did. Like, I also feel, again, like going back to the kids, and again, it's teaching these kids what's to play strengths and weaknesses, so I get it, but in the same sense, like, my nephew is a Giants fan. He asked for a Des Bryant jersey for Christmas in New York. Like, you don't do that.
Yeah,
you just
but
like,
Des,
I was like, and I bought it for him, and I love Des. Des is great,
but he put up big numbers for him on his fantasy
team. And it's
so
just like, but you're that would be like me playing fantasy football and taking Tom Brady on my team. It hurts my heart.
It's a different way to watch the game.
Yeah,
I
totally.
completely agree. You're coming from a traditional sense, which a lot of people agree with your sentiments, and then you're coming from, I think it's like the modern day. It's how people watch. I mean, when I'm watching, I've got Red Zone on. I've got, my iPad with one game on. I've got the TV with the other. And you're totally right. I'm not rooting for one team.
Yeah, who's your team?
Well, I grew up in LA, so I don't have like a strong affiliation to.
So you're a Jets fan?
So
is that what just happened?
I'm a huge Geno Smith fan.
Really?
No, I covered the 49ers when I lived in the Bay Area. I guess I would say just being around the players so much and kind of seeing the organization.
It's a good organization.
It's a great organization. Trent Baalke's there. They're good people. I love the media, the PR team there. And at the time, they were really good.
Right, it all worked out.
Can't say that now. This was 2 years ago when Jim Harbaugh was there. I think they ended up losing to the Seahawks in the NFC Championship game. But that's pathetic, right? I grew up a college football fan. I went to SC. I grew up in LA. So there's not a whole. There's my NFL loyalty.
Well, see, I'm going to make you a deal now.
Okay, let me hear
I'm going to root for USC this season. And you're going to give a little bit of love to the Jets.
Done.
Yes.
You know what? I like Fitzmagic.
It's totally Fitzmagic.
I like him.
I like it. I mean, he's consistent. He's better than whatever we've had.
He has a better connection with, the wide receivers, Decker and Braden Marshall now. So you didn't, I at least see the thing is, and I would like to talk a little Jets with you because
all right, let's do it.
You said you did not have an issue with Geno Smith getting, the broken jaw being taken out of the game.
I thought it was the best thing that ever happened to the Jets this season.
Do you think that the reason he was, quote, sucker punched was because of the lack of respect his teammates have for him?
Yes.
You would never see Peyton Manning or Tom Brady get sucker punched.
You would never see, and I don't want to quote people or bring more attention to it, but you would never see players speaking out saying Geno's done as a Jet.
Yeah.
Because that's what's happening.
And, I thought was really interesting is the players, his own teammates, didn't really come to his defense either.
Well, and that's honestly, and again, I'm not in the locker room, so I'm not saying this is what happens, but when that type of stuff happens to a quarterback and players don't rally around him, there's something deeper going on there.
Yeah. They weren't really upset that he
No. And because in the same sense, last year, look at his stats.
Yeah.
Look at his numbers last year.
He was good the last 4 games. Didn't he sort of have like an upward trajectory?
Okay. Yeah, he had an upward trajectory.
He was looking really good in training camp, and it seemed to be, okay, Todd Bowles was there. There's a kind of a new regime, maybe.
But that was, for me, that was, the thing that Todd Bowles was there. Revis was back. Cromartie was back. Decker was there last year, but now he's got Marshall. You got Curley, but he's just playing on special teams. And it's like, you have all these pieces of the puzzle, and then you got this rookie quarterback. And the Jets system before now isn't designed to have a rookie quarterback.
Yeah.
They don't build around that. So it's like, as soon as Fitzpatrick, everyone's like,
he was sort of the odd man out, Geno Smith. Yeah.
And for Fitzpatrick, great. He doesn't really have the long ball a lot. He's been doing it fine, but it's like, he's consistent and he's smart. So when you think about our franchise and you think about the fact that we've had quarterback problems for the past years, I mean, I want Fitzpatrick to be teaching Bryce Petty, who hopefully will be the next franchise quarterback for us, rather than Geno Smith.
Yeah, and you see that coming from a guy like Fitzpatrick. You kind of almost want to see him pass his legacy on to someone like
and you want to see him go out on top. And the fact that he's back with the Bills coordinator, who's the Jets the Jets offense coordinator was the same one that he had the Bills. His name is escaping me right now. But so that was when he went 14-0 when Fitzpatrick had that great run with the Bills when they were undefeated for a long time. It's that same tandem with the Jets now. So I mean, I don't know.
Again,
it's working so far. I'm happy with 2-0. We won half as many games as we won last season. Happy.
When was the last time they went 2-0?
I don't know that, but I know we haven't won back-to-back games in
Rex
2
Ryan
years. Maybe.
Yeah.
Were
you sad to see Rex Ryan leave?
I was a very big Rex Ryan fan.
Yeah.
Yes,
I think a lot of New York was.
Yeah, I feel like he was a player's coach, and I feel like the guys bought into his system until his system. I feel like a lot of his hands were tied for stuff. I feel like John Igzik, our old GM had a lot to do with it. Rex wasn't free to be. I feel like the whole the whole system is better right now.
I think Rex is on to a better place too. So
yeah, but he still has the same excuse. I was outcoached by Bill Belichick.
I know.
I mean, you know how many times I've heard I was outcoached by Bill Belichick in my life?
Yeah, you're tired of hearing that.
No, I
excuse.
can't hear it. So again, all right. So let's bring it back to you.
Sure.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
There's more and more woman influence in football now. You see more women on the sidelines. You're on the morning show. We've got Sarah Thomas as a referee.
Jen Welter with the Arizona
Jen
Cardinals.
Welter, exactly.
Yeah.
How do you feel? Like, are there still a lot of struggles, or do you feel as a woman that it's more so like an open, a level playing field, or do you still feel that there's a little bit of like, oh, she might not know, she's a pretty girl, she might not know what she's talking about?
Right.
What does it feel like for you?
You know, I think no matter if you're a girl or a guy, you got to go into the room proving yourself. You know, you could be the best player that ever played in the NFL, and if you can't string together an intelligent, thought-provoking sentence, you're not going to last very long. You know, I'm in this business because I show up prepared. I just, you know, I love the sport. I love the game, obviously, like you do, Steph. And I think every day you just sort of have to come in and make sure you're prepared, know what you're talking about, and connect with the audience. And I think that you are starting to see the female influence really take a part. You know, Oakland, for the first time, I want to say that in like 30 years, they had a female play-by-play voice. It was the preseason.
Right. Still, it's a step.
Huge. And, you know, yes, Jen Welter with the Cardinals. I don't think she's there anymore. And Sarah Thomas, the referee. You're starting to see that it's okay. I mean, 50% of the fan base that watched the Super Bowl were women.
Right.
So you're getting the representation of who is watching the game. 50%. They are watching the game. We're just as interested. Why can't I be just as interested in a sport that maybe, yes, it's all men that play the game, but why can't I string together intelligent questions and thought-provoking, you know, segments that gets the audience pumped up? I mean, I can do it just as well as a guy. So
no, you can, and I think too the little bonus sometimes that the woman has, it's a little bit. Not that it should ever be like emotional conversation, but it's a little bit
a
less
different perspective.
Yes,
not
it's a little
just
stats,
X's and O's.
Exactly,
right. Exactly.
And it creates room for conversations to get to know these players a little bit more, which I really enjoy. I've seen you on the show, and I really enjoy it. So again,
thank you.
Keeping it down.
Andrea Kramer, she's a great example. You know, she's on HBO Real Sports too, and she works for us over at the NFL Network. She loves doing those meatier pieces where you're not just talking about, you know, the Panthers linebacking core and, you know, how many sacks they have. You're talking about why Luke Kuechly shows up as the first person to arrive in that facility every single morning. What happened to him when he was a little kid? That, yeah, you're born with talent, of course, you know, and you progressively get better, but what is it that's up here? That's what I want to know. You know what I mean?
And I feel like the more, and again, I feel like it's timing too, because now we're at a time where we want to, and even though maybe it's by social media or whatever, we're at a time where we want to know more. We want to know more than the face value. We want to feel like we can connect, we can converse with these people, and I feel like that's what a lot of, and not that men don't do it, but I feel like that's, you know, one thing that women are bringing to the table that's really awesome.
Yeah, different perspective. I think it's interesting what inspires people, why you wake up in the morning and do what you do. That's what I want to get to the bottom of, you know.
Well, why do you wake up in the morning and do what you do?
Because I love it, you know. I mean, this is what I love. I love connecting with people that have the same passions as I do. And what we do on the show, which is great, is we give the audience a platform to connect with Terrell Davis, you know, a future Hall of Famer. What questions you want to know? And we get to it's fun, you know. And like you said, social media is changing the game. So, you know, NFL HQ on NFL Network, you can see Monday through Friday.
What time is it on?
It's on from 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. Pacific time. And obviously, it's national, so you can check it out. 8 a.m.
10.
Yeah, 8 to 10. So it's a lot of fun. I enjoy it. You know, we talk about all 32 teams. You know, we give fair love to the Bucks, to the Titans. You know, and there's just so many great storylines.
What's your favorite storyline, or who's your favorite interviewer?
I'm obsessed. I can't stop talking about the Eagles right now with what's going on. Well, aren't you curious? I mean, like, Chip Kelly is 0-2.
Yeah.
You know, he has a very fragile quarterback.
Yes.
His star runner, who they paid millions of dollars for, has 35 rushing yards in 2 games total.
DeMarco Murray?
Yes.
He has 11.
In 2 games, he has 35 rushing yards. Is it 11?
I think it's 11. He got 2 yards last game. Monday night's game, he had 2 yards.
I mean, you pay millions of dollars.
But in the same sense, it's like you gotta. I mean, I hear you. The Eagles, and again, my Jets play the Eagles Sunday, so I'm like, don't get it together by Sunday.
Right.
But in the same sense, it's like
I don't think that they will either. But
no, I don't think they will either, which is awesome. But I feel like there's still not one place to point, not the blame, not that we're trying to do that, but there's not. They're just puzzle is all the pieces are like missing right now. You know, it's just not connecting. Like, do you think Chip Kelly made the bad decisions in the offseason? Or what do you, I mean, do you not want to be put on the spot like that?
No, to get rid of Deshaun Jackson the year before, you get rid of your, number one wideout in Jeremy Maclin, you get rid of Nick Foles, he goes to the Rams, LaShawn McCoy down to Buffalo. I mean, so basically what you're telling me is if I get really good numbers the previous year, I could potentially be shipped off somewhere else.
Why do you think he did it? What do you think because he's a smart guy. He comes from Oregon. They had one of the best rushing games in college football. So now he can't get it together.
20 wins in the last 2 years. The guy has a winning record every
so
season.
What do you think? There's got to be a flip side that we're not understanding. What do you think
I mean, this is what I'm not in the locker room, but apparently, and these were some of the things that LaShawn McCoy said, that he tends to not, if you sort of question authority, you tend to be looked down upon. And again, this is what I'm hearing. This isn't, I'm not in there.
Don't ruffle the feathers.
Don't ruffle Chip Kelly's feathers, because that's what I'm getting from with the guys on the panel, on the show. They've been in the locker room before. I'm not in Philly, but it seems as though Chip Kelly wants total control. Not only that, the GM gave him total control. So the last 2 years, you're seeing him make these kind of crazy moves. I guess they panned out last year, without Deshaun Jackson. But I hope for Chip Kelly's safety that something comes of this Eagles season, because he sort of gambled his future away if this doesn't work out for him. And you can see why he would put a lot of stock in the running game. He's got a different type of offense. But I don't know, and again, I'm not a coach, why you would get rid of your top 2 wideouts, your number 1 running back, and then, Nick Foles, who I didn't think was all that bad last year and clearly had an even better season the year before, for Sam Bradford, And
it's funny you say Sam Bradford is a fragile quarterback. Do you think they should start Sanchez?
Well, I went to USC.
Oh yeah,
so
all right, fair enough.
I covered him when I was in college.
Oh, okay.
I know you laugh because of butt fumble, right?
Well, I laugh because how if I had a quarter for how many times people said that Mark Sanchez took the Jets to the championship, I would be rich. And I feel like I disagree with it every time.
Really? Yeah.
I feel like our defense is what took us to the championships, and Mark Sanchez's rookiness is what made us not go to the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. He's great. I love him. I had 3 jerseys of him to wear. Yeah. I support it. I have this amazing picture. Like, I fall in love with my team, whoever it is.
Sure.
But looking back, I feel like New York and the media messed with his mind a little bit. Like, it's a
and
lot
it can do
playing
that.
And especially cities, like there's certain cities where it's a lot.
You see what's happening with RG3 in DC,
Right.
I think that's a lot for, like you said, guys in big markets.
Right. So, I mean, do you think, and there was question about whether or not they're going to start Mark Sanchez, and I believe they're not, they're going to start Bradford, but do you think that Mark Sanchez, interviewing him before, being a USC fan, will he be a franchise quarterback for the Eagles organization or a organization, or is he always going to be that backup guy that's kind of consistent good but not really a star?
Well, I don't think you can say he's going to be a franchise QB, but I think you can definitely compare his stats to Sam Bradford. I mean, you just can't really rely on Sam Bradford as being a durable QB. He's been injured the last 2 seasons, and he's been out the whole season. So a guy that I feel more comfortable getting banged up, and you saw the Eagles you saw Sam Bradford get banged up. I don't know if he's really, Sam Bradford's the answer. I'm not saying Mark Sanchez is the answer.
Should they have kept Tebow?
But I know, right? Well, I was surprised they shipped him off too, because Chip Kelly is known to keep 3 QBs on a roster, and then they brought in some random guy. But hey, maybe Tebow will be better on the Jets again.
No, we're good.
You're good. No
I think
Tebow
we're
for
all
you?
good. Yeah.
Yeah, you like Fitzmagic.
I love him.
I feel like you're mesmerized by the beard.
No, I'm mesmerized by the brain.
He is very. I mean, the guy went to the Harvard. You can't blame him for that. He's smart. Yeah.
And it's like I feel like with the Jets, we beat ourselves a lot, and I feel like that will play less with a smart quarterback.
And I like Todd Bowles. So you got a
Love
smart
him.
QB, you got a smart coach.
Yeah, and it was interesting.
out.
I actually got to interview Antonio Cromartie at the Super Bowl. This was still when he was with the Cardinals, and I was asking him about Coach Todd Bowles and the difference between playing for Coach Todd Bowles and Rex Ryan because he's played with both. And he was like, the system that Coach Todd Bowles has works. It's just a matter of if the guys are buying into it. And I definitely think the Jets are buying into it. The whole energy and feel is through the television you can see. And I went to New York for opening day. Like, it was insane to be there.
Yeah.
And I'm going to London in 2 weeks.
Oh, I'm so
Jets,
excited
Dolphins.
for you.
Yeah,
I mean,
you can
there's a completely different approach between the way Rex Ryan coaches and his personality to a Todd Bowles. He's a little bit more relaxed, and you sense that energy, like you said. Maybe that's something that guys in the locker room need. I don't know,
Yeah.
So,
well, if there's one thing about football that you feel is not talked about enough, what would that thing be?
the great things that the players do. We talked about Thomas Davis, Pat McAfee, the kicker, the punter for the Colts. These guys do so many great things. I mean, it happens all the time, and the NFL does a lot of great things to bring awareness for kids and veterans. And, there's a lot of cool stuff that actually happens that we, as the media aren't as interested in, that I think would be as inspiring as those stories of overcoming struggles. Certain specific examples escape me, but I just think it's amazing. Thomas Davis, for example, he comes back to his community and he supports those younger guys that, he was once before, and hopes that, they'll be on the straight and narrow and have a successful career, whatever it is that they do. I love that. I just think, NFL is amazing. It's a fun game to watch, but when you take advantage of that platform and you use it for good, I mean, I'm all in on that,
No, I agree with you. And the more and more, we see HBO, the more and more 30 for 30s we see on ESPN.
Yeah.
I mean, these stories are just, it's amazing what the journey is.
Absolutely. I completely agree. I mean, I just think it's fascinating. With 30 for 30, they did a documentary. Oh shoot, I can't. It was on one of the running backs who just could not get out of his own way, and it's sad. It's heartbreaking when you're a viewer and a fan of the game, and you see everything is handed. You could be such a huge star, and just as much as you could make it, you can fall off the rails. And you see a lot of examples of that as well in any sport, not just the NFL. And
it's a
that
lot.
hopefully is inspiring too.
Yeah, because it's
that.
a lot. These kids, a lot of them come, not all of them, not to make a generalization, but some of them come from nothing. So it's like now all of a sudden your friends, your family are looking at you like you're not, Chris anymore. You're Chris that makes, $6 million a year and is playing football and can have all the fancy stuff. So it's like the support that people have sometimes changes, and they don't change, and they don't there's a lot that goes into that.
Yeah.
Okay,
agree.
So about this season 2, we got some other teams that are like a little wonky. How do you feel about the Colts right now?
Well, okay, they did start 0-2 last year, and obviously they made the playoffs. But I'm just completely shocked by Andrew Luck. I think he's had 6 turnovers in 2 games. Frank Gore, we have seen absolutely 0 production. Andre Johnson is on my fantasy team, which I was like, this is a no-brainer. Andre Johnson, now he's got Andrew Luck. Oh my God, sign me up. Nothing.
Yeah.
I don't really know what to say. Maybe they'll get it back on the rails and on,
You think it's too soon to tell, or you think there's big red flags going on for some teams?
I think it's always too soon.
Yeah.
It's 2 weeks in. We'll start to see a little bit more of what really is going on with teams. After week 4, week 5, you have injuries.
Yeah,
I mean, Tony Romo. I know Dez is out.
Yeah.
You have the Saints questionable there with their QB. Jay Cutler with the hamstring injury. Jimmy Clausen is going to go. So.
How do you feel about the amount of flags we're seeing this season already?
I think that I feel like you saw them last season too.
The same amount?
Yeah, they're playing, the refs want to make sure that, defenders kind of have gotten away with a little bit more than they used to. For instance, the Legion of Boom a few years ago, when the Seahawks won the Super Bowl, the refs were like, it's time to really play fair because this bump and run, a lot of physicality with each play when it comes to wide receivers, it's going to get called, and they had all preseason to prepare to know how the types of penalties that they were looking at. I think sometimes players just think they can get away with it, right. And you're going to see flags. I mean.
Yeah.
No,
I feel like it's the beginning of the season too, because some calls I feel like in the beginning, it's the beginning for everybody.
Absolutely.
So
people still don't have the chemistry down, so you're gonna see a lack of chemistry.
Yeah, a lot of people. You brought up preseason, and a lot of people, there's been the conversation about preseason. And it just being like a time where guys get hurt, too long, too short. What are your feelings on preseason?
Terrell Davis brought up a good point. He said, whether it's preseason or it's in season, that guy's going to get injured, and some people have an issue because preseason doesn't really count. So maybe at least if that guy's going down, he's going down in a game that counts. I do think that the preseason could be cut down because you do get bummed out when you see a major injury happen to, oh gosh, there were so many.
Jordy Nelson,
I mean, there's so many. There were a lot of big injuries that happened in the preseason that could potentially decide the fate of the team. Even though it's Aaron Rodgers and he's like Superman.
Yeah.
What would it be like if you had Jordy Nelson in that offense? It's a bummer, but it is what happens. You're playing a physical game and it's preseason, so it's just a bummer as a Green Bay fan, right? Or what if that was Brandon Marshall preseason? You'd be devastated.
I'd cry. I would literally cry.
Or if it was Geno Smith getting his jaw broken by IK and Mpali.
I was very happy about that one.
That is hilarious to me.
You know what? The bigger thing is, I must have gotten, no lie, 30 text messages that day.
When Geno Smith was sucker
punched in the face. And I feel like every single one of them felt the same way as me. As the majority, I feel like the Jets, we were never, you know what? And if Geno, the thing about Jets fans, or the thing about me as a Jets fan, is I was never convinced by Geno.
Sure.
Right now, he's not playing for us, so I can say blessing in disguise, happy. He steps on that field Sunday, I'm go Geno.
Yeah.
Because he's our guy. You have to kind of come with your team. And I feel like, when we boo our own guys or any team, the Colts were getting booed third quarter. Yeah. That's just, I don't know. It's
you never want to see a guy go down like that, especially because Geno Smith seemed to have had a promising training camp and he seemed to look good. And you just never want to see a guy go down like that in that way. It just seemed ironic that it was happening to the Jets, and
of course it happened to the Jets.
But who knows? Maybe he'll come back. People say he's not going to start again, but
no.
I think
unless something happens, you never know.
Yeah.
But I'm happy with where we're at.
Hey, if it's
what
magic,
about you guys, the Niners? How are they doing?
Well, they're 1-1 right now. They did not look so good week 2, but I don't know. I saw a lot of promise out of Carlos Hyde. They Frank Gore is no longer there anymore.
Yeah.
I was really nervous. Yeah, he's with the Colts. He's not doing much with the Colts right now. But I was nervous without Frank Gore with that offense because that game it's all about the run game. It's the run attack, and I think that Carlos Hyde so far had some injuries this past game, but he looked good, The O-line is questionable. They do have some veterans, but they're also filling in holes. Half of that starting roster I think is first or second year guys because, as we lost a lot of guys on defense.
You guys, your guys' last offseason was, you didn't even have a coach. It was a little bit in shambles.
It was an odd time for the 49ers. I think like the Cowboys last year, they're going to get it together and maybe produce something of a season. I don't think that they're going to win the NFC West, but you never know.
Who's your sleeper team for this season? Who do you think that we're not really hearing about right now that's going to be in the playoffs?
It's
or close to that.
Well, I had always said the Bills because I kind of liked. I know. I'm sorry. It's not the Jets in that division. I know. I'm sorry.
No, it's all right. I can take it.
But I didn't think it was going to be the Jets. I was still unsure because I just wasn't sure what the Patriots were going to look like 4 games without Tom Brady. They made a lot of changes to their. It's amazing without the guys that were on their run game last year. Deion Lewis is stepping up really big. It's Bill Belichick. It's what he does.
Yeah,
he brings guys
coach.
together. But my sleeper, that is so tough because again, like I said, I thought it was the Bills and then they played the Patriots and that's
right.
Tom Brady's got a chip on his shoulder.
He's got something to prove.
I know.
And he's proven it. And it hurts me to say it, but he is proving it.
You gotta like that in him though. He's such a competitor.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's amazing. The duo there in Foxborough. But
I know.
You want to go division by division because I can't.
You can just pick one. Overall, who do you think that we're not hearing about right now? We'll maybe hear about more. The Bengals. I don't know.
Oh yeah, the Bengals. Yeah,
Yeah.
Andy Dalton. They're good too. They're doing really well.
Yeah.
I think that's a team that's underrated.
Right.
That's a great suggestion. Yeah.
All right. We'll both go with that.
Okay. There you go. Thank you. You'll let me share that with you.
Yeah. What the team?
There you go.
There
it's
it is.
Team effort right
there
here.
It is,
I love that.
All right. Well, before we go, it's almost about time to wrap up. Is there anything else that you're working on that you want to let the people know about? Like, what's going on in your life? NFL HQ all day long.
Literally all day long. I mean, I don't think people at home know quite how that schedule works because, we cater to the East Coast because it's a national show. So we go on live 5 a.m. Pacific time for the 8 a.m. East Coast,
So you're there at like 1 in the morning.
So I get up at, like about 11 p.m. I get into work, do a little bit of the research, and then, it's go time 5 a.m., which means I go to sleep around 5 p.m. So when you say, like, what else are you working on, that's pretty much it's the same routine.
Well, but you have some charitable stuff that you do as well, right?
Yeah, I work for a wonderful group. It's called the Young Professionals Council. And it's within the Children's Hospital of Los Angeles. And we raise money to help those kids there at CHLA. When I was a little girl, I had issues with my ears, and I went there myself, and it's just a great hospital. It does a lot for young kids and Young Professionals Council. I think it's like ypc.org if you want to learn more about that. But yeah, that's a passion of mine, reading books to kids and stuff. Got to give back. Like
you got to give back.
You have a platform, you got to give back. I love seeing that. So
awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming, Erin. I love talking sports with you. We got to talk more sport. We got to go watch a game together.
Yes.
It has to happen.
A Jets Patriots game.
Okay, I'll be at the second one. The second one is December 27th.
You're going to be
New
there.
York.
You'll be there.
I'll be at that one.
Okay.
But they play again. They play sooner than that. They play November. The date escapes me. I just know the other one because I have tickets.
Yeah.
But we'll watch that game together.
We'll have fun in London.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you
welcome.
so much for coming. And again, can you tell the people where they can find you if they want to keep the conversation going?
Yeah. Hey, I'm on Twitter, Erin Coscarelli. It's pretty, unless you don't know how to spell my name, it's Erin Coscarelli, which is complicated because it's Italian.
Well, yeah, let's tell the people how to spell it if they're listening.
It's Coscarelli. I'm on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, you name it. You can find me there.
Awesome. Well, thank you again so much for coming. It was really, really fun to talk sports with another smart woman.
Thank you.
Love you. All right, and you guys can keep the conversation going with me at IAMSTEFZ. Thank you guys so much, and have a great day.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV prediction. From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Even though the Colts
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.